so that they could continue to feed their families or continue to run their business or keep themselves afloat. Mr. Speaker, we spent over 518 million Ghana cedis on these small loans. Mr. Speaker, our health workers and our colleagues on the other side maybe have short memories, just as the former president, His Excellency John Mahama, said in December 2013, that Ghanaians have short memories, and that's why we forget the achievements that he has chalked for this country. To paraphrase, Mr. Speaker, we are not forgetful, but we need to remind them consistently of the achievements that His Excellency the President of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has achieved for the people of Ghana.
Yeah.
Even during COVID, we were creating jobs. We created over 58,000 jobs in the health sector alone.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, it has not all been doom and gloom. The security sector, we have created in fact, we have supplied them with over 104 armored personnel carriers, 70 utility troop carrying vehicles, 20 armored vehicles, 85 assorted Toyota vehicles, 50 Ankai buses, Mr. Speaker, 40 jeeps, J8 vehicles. For our Navy, we've supplied them with not less than 4 offshore patrol vessels. Mr. Speaker, all these in very difficult, trying times that we find ourselves in as a country. Mr. Speaker, our judiciary have not been left behind. We've provided over 120 courthouses. 6 regional high courts. Offices and accommodation for our justices of the high courts and appeal courts. Mr. Speaker, 210 vehicles for the justices of the high court, appeal courts, and the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, there's no country under the sun that can develop without science.
Yes.
For the first time in our history, we have built 10 brand new STEM schools. Mr. Speaker, these schools are some of the best that you can find in this country today. When you go to Abuja, there are schools in Ghana, or in fact, the schools, science schools in Ghana, where students don't even have the opportunity to do titration before they write their final exams. But today, we have built STEM schools that we believe would change the fortunes of Ghana in the very near future. Mr. Speaker,
tell them.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you know, our opponents on the other side have been throwing dust into the eyes of Ghanaians that we have found a way of taking money out of the pockets of our poor pensioners. Mr. Speaker, that is absolutely not true. The DDEP was a voluntary program. And underline voluntary. It's a voluntary program. You decide to participate. And Mr. Speaker, because Ghanaians have confidence in the ability of this government to manage the economy and turn things around, we had an 85% participation rate in the new bonds that were issued. Mr. Speaker, these are the things that we have done to make sure that post-COVID, Ghana will still be growing. Mr. Speaker, to quote from the President and to conclude, he says that throughout history, there are many instances of nations going through periods where dark clouds create shadows that momentarily shield the yearn for vision from sight. Mr. Speaker, yes, there may be dark clouds hanging on us. The dark clouds have not completely dissipated, but we believe in the ability of His Excellency the President and His able Vice President, Dr. Baumia.
We have the men
to lead us so that we clear these storms. And Mr. Speaker, the storm will soon be over. And Ghana and Ghanaians will see the brightness of the day. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker,
you have to conclude.
To quote from His Excellency the President, he says, fellow Ghanaians, Let us believe in ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you believe in ourselves and in our capacity to overcome the problems that are before us, obviously we'll be able to ride the storm, and Ghana would be the victor for it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
You start now. Good job.
Very well, thank you. Let me now come to Honorable Member for Bongo.
Thank you.
Bongo man himself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Edward Bauer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion.
Honorable, you have 10 minutes.
Oh, you've stopped me in the middle, so you add 2 minutes to it.
I'll add 2 seconds to you. So just
that this House thanks His Excellency the President for the message on the State of the Nation address delivered on March 8, 2023. But before I do that, Mr. Speaker, the last speaker indicated that under the NDC we could not even give kids the opportunity to titrate or perform basic titration in the laboratories. But one thing he did not tell people is that even today, kids do not have tables and chairs to sit down and even understand the basic principles of the mole concept before they go into the laboratory to titrate. And that is one thing that he should know. Mr. Speaker.
no members, please.
Mr. Speaker, but the truth of the matter is this. When we were kids, I remember, and I was privileged to go to a mission school like you also went to mission school. I was privileged to go there. And we were taught basic values of speaking the truth. And that if you spoke the truth, it was something that you were seen and respected because your truth or your word was what people could rely on. Unfortunately, when you grow old and you say it, because it is something that is so abominable, even when the grown-up say something that is not true, usually in most cultures they say, oh, you have forgotten. Because it is simply not comprehensible to understand that somebody who is as old as over 60 years will say things that are not true. So you always say, oh, I think you forgot. I say this because, you see, if you have a situation where you blatantly change records and come to Parliament, and because you were not speaking under oath, you can say them and go scot-free, then it's dangerous. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, when the finance minister came here to present the budget on rural electrification in terms of access to electricity, this is what the finance minister said. That under rural electrification, 1,212 communities were connected to the national grid, increasing the national access rate from 80.5% to 83.24%. He was reporting the 2016 figures. Mr. Speaker, when the president came here just a few days ago, this is what he said. Mr. Speaker, we are now at the most difficult stage of electricity provision around the country. The parts that are left are very difficult to access. The national electricity access rate increased from 79.3, not the 83.24 reported by his own finance minister, in 2016 to 88.54 in 2022. When did the figure move from 83.25 as reported in 2017 as part of the performance in 2016 to 79 point something? And this is a president who is making this statement. And he wants me, a common member of parliament, to respect and take his words for what they mean when he makes statements like this. But I can understand. If you look at the previous governments before him, everybody has outperformed him. And the only way to behave right was to reduce the performance of somebody so that he can also have a very big percentage gap. I say this because when the national electricity, access program came into being, in somewhere in 1990, the rate in terms of access rate to electricity was just 15%. That was under President Rawlings. By 2000, when he was leaving government, the access rate had increased to 45%. President Akufo came and increased it from 45% to 54%. And that was in 2008 December. From 2009 to 2016, it moved from 54% to 83.25% as reported by the finance minister, who happens to be the president's own cousin, in 2017. So for the president to come and indicate that the access rate as in 2016 December was 79 point something was simply very disappointing. And I remember that day when he was talking, some of the members of the MPP who are seized with these facts, including my own chairman, I saw him squeeze his face because I realized that these things were not very true. Mr. Speaker, the next point I want to talk about has to do with one important issue that the president did not talk about. And to be very sincere, we thank God for the intervention and the mercies he gives us. Or else this country would have spent 1.3 billion on an investment that was going to yield nothing. You recall that just a few days ago, AGM Petroleum issued a statement indicating that they were relinquishing their interest in the South Deep Water Tunnel block. The reason they gave was that the information in that discovery was not enough for them to proceed in terms of investments. But Mr. Speaker, you know you are a member of the Mines and Energy Committee. In 2021, the president and his team came to this house and told us that Aker Energy and then AGM Petroleum, both owned by one single businessman from Norway, that they were going to offload part of their shares. If you recall, they said they were offloading 70% of the Deep Water Tunnel block, and then 37% of the Aker block. And that, based on their own valuation, it was supposed to be 1.3 billion. And they wanted this house to approve the acquisition. They had indicated to us that the economic management team had approved this transaction. You recall that the minority said that we did not have enough information to move on and to approve this particular deal. Particularly, if you look at the block that has been relinquished today, they had valued it at $700 million. $700 million. The block that has been relinquished today, the valuation that was presented to Parliament was about $700 million. We said this was a scam. We said this was a trick to ensure that Ghana loses money. People fought against us. 2 years after that, the same company that was going to sell the thing for us for 700 million have told us that they are relinquishing their interest in it because they do not see that particular investment as viable. My question I need to ask today is this: whose interest was it when this particular deal was brought to Parliament? Because I cannot for a moment believe that the economic management team, chaired by the Vice President, could superintend over this and recommend to Parliament that we should approve this deal. The Aker deal, the one you asked that we should give you 1.3 billion to go and acquire. And 2 years after that, the same company that wants to sell that deal to the block to you says that we are no longer interested. Take it. Because you know why? Initially, we are told them that if you look at the issues of crude oil development, when you first discover oil, it is not enough. You need to conduct an appraisal test to determine the commerciality of the particular discovery. If you have not done that, you don't move on. Even your financiers will not give you money. And indeed, Aker Energy and AGM Petroleum knew that they had not conducted the appraisals. And so if they were to go to any bank or any financial institution, they were not going to get funding for it. Even if they decided to offload their shares on any of the stock exchange, they were not going to get people to buy those shares. And so they decided that in collaboration with their partners within government, that let's saddle Ghana with this and let Ghana part away with $1.3 billion. That is why I am indicating that we must not just leave it at the point of just saying that they have relinquished it, but who are their collaborators within government who almost tricked us? We need to be able to do that. We need to investigate this further. 2, Mr. Speaker, you will realize that, and to be very sincere with you, the president came to the house here looking so excited, saying that, oh, based on a particular initiative I brought into brought into being, that's the goal for oil, that, oh, I've been able to reduce fuel prices from 23 cedis per liter to about 12 point something cedis per liter. And he was proud about it. I wish God really gave me the confidence the president has to look straight into Ghanaians and still articulate your failure as an achievement.
Honorable, your time is up.
5 minutes more.
Oh,
And you should be winding up. You know, the time
okay,
is
yes,
there.
I
I mean,
will
you
go.
can look at it.
Mr. Speaker, all I need to say in this particular area is this. In 2016, a gallon of petrol was 14 cedis. Gallon. Under Akufo-Addo, people bought a gallon of fuel for 103 Ghana cedis. And he was still bold enough to look at us and say that he has done well. But Mr. Speaker, I just hope and pray that at the committee that I belong with you, that we'll have an opportunity to digest this. Because the truth of the matter is that our grandfather, our father, some people call him uncle and brother, has not been truthful to Ghanaians. And the unfortunate part of it is that he comes to parliament and then through his teeth, he can lie.
Honorable
Ghanaians.
member.
Thank you very much for your opportunity.
Honorable member, thank you. Honorable member, thank you very much. Honorable Asunaba, I don't think I will give you the opportunity.
I wanted to seek your opinion. For a sitting member of parliament to say that the head of state, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, came here to lie. I mean, this is not forensic language. It's serious. I wanted to seek your opinion on that. It's very unparliamentary. The president came to lie. That's a serious matter.
Yes.
That's a very, very serious matter. So please, my very good brother, if you want to withdraw what you said, because it carries serious implications for this nation. The international community is listening to what we are doing in this chamber. To say that the president came to this house to lie with the greatest of respect is very unparliamentary, and I will crave your indulgence that it should withdraw that statement.
Yes.
The other gentleman is in contempt of the chair.
Honorable Bawa.
Yes.
Actually-
Where your people will not want to use meters, but I want to enjoy electricity.
Honorable members, please.
Yes. We have been installing meters for you and we are in contempt of the chair.
Honorable Bawa, can you put it differently for us?
I respect Honorable Atachia very much. And he understands the English language better than me. But I do not know the definition. When somebody says something that is not true, what is it called? But you are saying that per the definition, I shouldn't use the definition here. I should say what is palatable to the ears. The president deliberately misrepresented facts. I'm using that in place of lies.
Well.
Is that okay?
Well.
Okay.
So we turn to Honorable Sylvester Tete. Honorable, the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes. Let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a vice chairman of a committee. I think I'm entitled to 15 minutes.
Honorable members, the vice chairman are allocated 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to the motion that this Honorable House thank His Excellency the President of the Republic for the message on the state of the nation which he delivered to Parliament on Wednesday, 8 March 2023. Mr. Speaker, it is important to thank His Excellency the President having delivered a speech that is concise, a speech that is apt, a speech that tells the true state of our nation, Ghana, and indeed, Parliament has every reason to thank Mr. President, not just for the statement, but indeed how Mr. President has carried on this country in times of difficulty. Mr. Speaker, the President has been truthful to this country and having accepted the challenge that this country is going through some difficulties. But indeed, in the face of all the difficulties and the challenges, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces has not run away from his responsibilities to the good people of this country, and he has lived up to the billing. Mr. President told us where he took this country from, and people had problems with the President taking us back from 2017 to 2020 before what our brothers from the other side don't want to hear in this country. Mr. Speaker, the President has said up to 2022, we've had a fiscal deficit below 5% of GDP for 3 years in a row. This is an achievement that everybody is proud of, including our friends from the other side, to the extent that the Fiscal Responsibility Act was passed by this August House. But for COVID, I'm not too sure that Parliament will grant the Ministry of Finance and the government for that matter an opportunity to relax or to suspend that Fiscal Responsibility Act for the government to expend money to be able to save lives and the economy of this country. The statement of Mr. President that we know how to bring back the economy, but it is difficult to bring back lost lives. Today, that statement is true. And Mr. President, in his statement, to say that last year we were having to buy a liter of petroleum products of 23 cedis per liter. Today, it is come down to 12.95. Mr. President even said 13. It could not be an accident. That could not be an accident. It did not happen by way of an accident. When he was going up, the President and his team are being blamed for escalating prices of petroleum products. But when it's coming down, people want us to believe that it is an accident. The irony of our stance on matters of national interest. Mr. President, again, Mr. President again said to this House that the balance of trade up to 2020 December was in a surplus. But for COVID, people do not want us to talk about COVID. But the impact of COVID in the global supply chain is felt everywhere. Where a container, shipping charges of a container shot from $4,000 to $14,000. Was that also caused by the President and his team? Mr. Speaker, that cannot be said to be the fault of the President and his team. Where an economy had gone to sleep without production for 3 solid weeks, obviously the Minister of Finance came to this House and told us that the revenue stream of this country had gone down and expenditure had gone up. A cumulative effect of about 13% of GDP. This is a huge hole that it will take time to fill it back. Mr. Speaker, in some of the achievements of the President why we say this house must thank him. In 2017, when we inherited the reins of governance in this country, the total number of libraries for the entire country was only 61. Only 61. Mr. Speaker, as of 2022 December, we can now count 115 libraries, well-stocked libraries across the country. Even in the face of all the challenges, we are making gains. What I want to urge this August House to do, that we should be mindful of how we run down this country. Unemployment rate, we know when we inherited this economy, we had Youth or Graduate Unemployment Association in this country. Government has taken different steps to ensure that we reduce the incidence of, even in the face of COVID. That is why the president had told this August House that the COVID, in the face of COVID, we didn't go to sleep. We thought of the small, medium businesses in this country, where we had to expend 518 million to support over 302 small-scale businesses in this country. And today we are celebrating women as part of the International Women's Day celebration. Mr. Speaker, the number of businesses that were supported, majority of them are women-led businesses in this country. And the statistics are available. Out of the number, 36% were male businesses and 64% are female businesses. That is the way we develop a country. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has the biggest or the largest medical drone supplies ever in the world. And we think that we have not done anything as a country. Mr. Speaker, what we've been able to do for youth and youth unemployment, TVET